Please, Jack, would you mind closing that door? Please, thank you. Okay, the chair will call to order the meeting of the CUSD 201 Board of Education today, April 30th, 2013. Roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon.
Mr. Armstrong?
Here.
Ms. Caparelli?
Here.
Mr. Charleston?
Here.
Mrs. Charlton?
Here.
Mrs. Hancock?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mrs. Thomas?
Here.
We can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda, the approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 19, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, that motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the March 19, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Aye. Second, sorry.
You got that, didn't you? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 21st, 2013 special meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
I'll do a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the March 21st, 2013 special meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I abstain again.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the April 2nd, 2013 special meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the April 16th, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then just to make sure, in your orange folder was the amended version of the closed session of April 16th. I want to make sure everybody had a chance to see that. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the April 16th, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education as amended.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, for this part of the meeting, are there any public comments? No? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the resolution honoring retiring board members. And before we take this motion, just wanted to let everyone know that both our retiring board members have plaques that have been given to them honoring their work in the district. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the adoption of the resolution honoring the service of Daniel L. Charleston and Diane M. Thomas as members of the Community Unit School District 201 Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then we'll read the resolution. Resolution honoring Daniel L. Charleston and Diane M. Thomas. Whereas Daniel Charleston and Diane Thomas have served as members of the Community Unit School District 201 Board of Education for the period of May 2009 to April 2013. And whereas Daniel Charleston and Diane Thomas have rendered dedicated service to Community Unit School District 201 throughout their tenure on the Board of Education. And whereas Daniel Charleston and Diane Thomas have given of their time and abilities to Board of Education duties and responsibilities. And whereas the students and community have benefited from their time as members of the Board of Education. And whereas the Board of Education has appreciated their dedication and commitment. Now therefore be it resolved that Daniel Charleston and Diane Thomas shall be honored by the Community Unit School District 201 Board of Education.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you want to say anything at all at this time?
Sure. Well, no, please.
I have a few words. I just want to take a moment to thank the 201 community for their support and trust. As the board moves forward, I hope its members continue to consider the interests of all 201 students and continues to support the vision of our superintendent. Serving my community has been a wonderful growing experience. I want to thank the administration, the staff, and the teachers for all the work they do to make our district a better place for all of our 201 students. Thank you.
And I am just, I am honored to have served. We have such a unique and amazing district, unique in its expectations and unique in its challenges. Unique in its remarkable ability to both, in particular, I'm thinking back to Saturday evening's event, that when this community is united, it is an amazing thing and a wonderful thing. So my most earnest hope is that we continue to focus on that notion of unity and of not leaving any sort of segment of that community out in any way, that we value each of them as much as humanly possible. Kevin, I wanted to thank in particular a couple, just a handful of people individually. There are too many to thank, and I see so many faces that I can thank right now, but there's 4 in particular. Kevin, it's been a pleasure to serve with you. Thank you for your service. You came here 3 years ago as a gentleman of immense principle, having left a job without a job in hand. I would beg you and encourage you, continue to advocate your principle. It is worthwhile and genuinely good. So I'd encourage you not to be afraid to do that. 6 years ago when I started this little adventure, one of the first gentlemen I met in it was a gentleman named Jonathan McKay. Over the course of the years, he was an amazing teacher and consultant and collaborator. A gentleman who spent, there's got to be a YouTube video out there somewhere of 2 hours of him educating 201 about test scores, and a number of us standing in front, demonstrating mean and average and median and stuff like that. So a particular thank you to my very dear friend Jonathan. When Jonathan decided he could no longer participate at certain levels, we reached out to somebody else to participate in the political process and in running for the board. And so we immediately picked somebody who just genuinely hated public speaking in Diane Thomas. She has been my partner and my center during this process. And Diane, for the record, the only time I ever got in trouble was when I wasn't sitting close to you. About a year after we started, there was an opening on the board. I twisted a couple arms, one in particular, and I assured the one in particular that even though she expressed reservations about the time commitment and the energy and all that, I said, it really is not that big a deal. A couple hours with the board book a week, every couple weeks, couple-hour meetings, no big deal. I have a confession to make, Shannon.
Lies, all lies.
And I have another confession to make. Were I to do it again, I would lie again. I don't think the community understands, can't really understand just how much value Shannon brings to this table and to this community. And I thank her for her friendship mostly, but for her service as well. And then lastly, I'd like to thank the 3 women who have had to put up with this adventure for the last 6 years. One of whom is presently playing softball at Twin Lakes, our 7th grader, Kaylee, who is looking forward to having me available to participate in those kinds of things much more actively and frequently. She's the boss. I love her desperately. And to my oldest daughter, who was the inspiration for me getting involved, who tomorrow turns 18, who is the air that I breathe. Je t'aime, mon chéri. And lastly, to a woman I've spent 30 years of my life with, I look forward to leaving the table for no other reason than I can go back to simply being known as T.C. Charleston's husband, my finest title and my best name. So there are so many others to thank, but I would do a disservice to so many if I started naming names. So as I move from behind the table to in front of the table, I can only say thank you to the community for allowing me to serve, to an amazing staff, to an amazing administration, and to the board members I've served with. My sincerest thank you.
So, Marie, I just wanted to, from me personally, say thank you to Dan and Diane. Now that I had my arm twisted into doing this, I recognize the amount of time and energy and even money in some cases out of our own pockets that go into this adventure. And for the community members that aren't aware, just really help you understand the immense amount of time and energy and effort and emotion and everything that goes into this. And we are definitely better for your contribution, and certainly your knowledge and insight into what we're trying to accomplish here will be desperately missed. So thank you very much.
Okay, then we will move along to the next item on the agenda, oath of office for new board members. And we will ask Secretary Mary Kay Caparelli to administer the oath of office to the newly elected members of the Board of Education. And if we could please.
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 201 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States the Constitution of the State of Illinois and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector. Respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual, and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting. And I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Caparelli. And the next item on the agenda is the appointment of pro tem and secretary pro tem. Do we have any nominations at this point for president pro tem?
My suggestion would be to just have Marie do it for right now.
Okay, how about secretary?
Mary Kay.
Okay, any other? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to appoint Marie Charlton, President Pro Tem, and Mary Kay Caparelli, Secretary Pro Tem.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Did I do that right? Okay, I just realized that. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn, sin dine.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this portion of the meeting is adjourned. Everyone could take their seats, please.
Yeah, roll call.
Okay, I call to order this portion of the meeting tonight, April 30th, 2013, the regular meeting of the Board of Education. And if we could have a roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon?
Mr. Armstrong,
Here?
Ms. Caparelli,
Here.
Mrs. Charlton,
Here.
Mrs. Hancock,
Here?
Mr. Johnson,
Here.
Mrs. Notbush,
Here?
Mr. Price.
Here.
Okay. Should we do pledge allegiance again? Should we do pledge allegiance? No. Okay, then the first item on the agenda are procedural items. We will have the election of president, vice president, and secretary. And the chair will take nominations.
I'd like to nominate Marie Charlton to be president, once again, of the CUSD 201 Board of Education.
Okay, any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Matt Johnson to be president of CUSD 201 Board of Education.
Okay, so then we have-
Yeah, you have to ask everybody who they,
All right, any others then? Okay, should we do that in the vote, or ask everybody?
ask everybody first because they're already.
Then we have to make that there, okay. All right, we'll go around the table then, and there's two people, Matt Johnson and myself. Gary,
Marie Charlton.
Joel,
Marie Charlton.
Mara,
Marie Charlton?
Mary Kay,
Marie Charlton.
Matt,
Marie Charlton.
Shannon,
Matt Johnson.
and I will vote for myself as well. The chair will entertain a motion to nominate Marie Charlton as president of the Board of Education president for a 2-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon?
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes?
Ms. Caparelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Is it on there?
Okay, then nominations for vice president. I would like to nominate Joel Price as vice president. Are there any other nominations? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to nominate Joel Price as Board of Education vice president for a 2-year term.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon?
Ms. Caparelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton,
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll take nominations for the secretary.
I would like to nominate Mary Kay Caparelli.
Okay, are there any other nominations? The chair will entertain a motion to nominate Mary Kay Caparelli as Board of Education Secretary for a 2-year term.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton,
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Ms. Caparelli.
Yes.
A little hesitation there. All right, the next item on the agenda is the appointment of board committees. And the board has 4 committees: Finance Committee, Policy and Communication Committee, Buildings and Ground Committee, and Climate Committee. So I did ask everybody before the meeting, just to kind of move things along, as to which committees they wanted to be on. So I'll kind of go through that, and then we can talk and see if that works for everybody, and let me know if we have this. And again, we can have a couple members on each committee. So Finance Committee, Gary Armstrong, Mara Notbush. Did you want that? Okay. And Shannon Hancock?
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah.
Okay, Policy and Communication, Matt Johnson, Mary Kay Caparelli, Joel Price. So far, am I covering everybody? Okay. Buildings and Grounds Committee, Matt Johnson, Gary Armstrong. Okay, and Climate Committee, Mara Notbush, Joel Price. Okay, and did I get your?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so, did I capture what everybody was interested in doing? Okay, do I need to read anything else? We have it on. Oh, we don't make a motion, we just, okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is the establishment of board meeting dates, times, and places, and you all have in front of you a couple of pages of that. Everyone's had a chance to look at that. The chair will entertain a motion that the next meeting of the Community Unit School District 201 Board of Education will be held on May 14th, 2013, and that the regular meetings hereafter be held as identified on the notice of schedule of regular meetings of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. And we will post those meetings at some point in the near future on the website. Okay, the next item on the agenda, Shannon?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So we have, now we have the appointment of our SACID representative and our IASB representative. Joel Price has said that he will continue as our SACID representative. Is everybody comfortable with that? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to appoint Joel Price as District 201's representative to the SACID Board of Control, and we need an alternate. Sorry.
I can be the alternate.
Okay,
Again.
is everybody, okay, I'm sorry. And Mary Kay Caparelli as alternate. Okay, that was a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then Shannon has volunteered to be the ISB representative. Are we all good? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to appoint Shannon Hancock as District 201's Illinois Association of School Boards delegate representative.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, now we will move to public comments. We will start with the WTA. Celebrate Success, please.
Good evening. The Westmont Teachers Association is here tonight to celebrate success. I would like to introduce Jason Prisney, who currently teaches social science at Westmont Junior High. He attended Miller, Westmont Junior High, and Westmont High School, class of '95. He served 6 years in the United States Marine Corps Reserves. Jason received a Bachelor of Arts degree in Criminal Justice from Lewis University. He then earned a master's in education from DePaul University and also a graduate certificate in educational administration from Keller Graduate School of Management. While at the junior high, Jason has served on several building and district level committees as well as WTA building representative. At this time, he serves as vice president of the Westmont Teachers Association. Jason has coached football and baseball for several years at Westmont High School and coached cross country at the junior high for the past 3 years. And for the past 3 years has sponsored the annual Washington, D.C. trip for 8th grade students. He currently lives in Darien with his wife Jennifer and their 2 children, Catherine, age 4, and Benjamin, age 6 months. Please welcome Jason.
Thank you very much for having me this evening. I have a brief presentation that I'd like to share with you. One of the first things that I'd like to do before I start sharing some things with you is share with you some of the things that 8th graders said about their experiences in Washington, D.C. One moment, please. Anyone? Well, let me see if I can get this microphone down where it comes out of the computer. That will help. Here.
About the Washington read was mostly because I realized that a lot of people were affected by the Holocaust, and I realized how important.
Laura, would you knock on the door and ask?
They were having some technical difficulties.
Yes, I heard.
Just give us a second, we'll try to get this.
Okay, let me see what this is.
Are you at home?
It's not.
Was he even playing at all? Even if you unplugged
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And the sound's all the way up, so.
Okay.
I also have it open separately, just in case, but not embedded.
It's not louder, just by.
That's probably your best.
Would that be a better bet?
Yeah, absolutely. I ran into this problem with 5th grade step-up night, so.
Okay.
Can you all hear me? Yeah, that should work.
These are good kids. He's our next door neighbor. This guy's a great fit. It's torturous, isn't it?
Yes.
I was most impressed with all the Smithsonian museums.
Hear something. I hear something.
National Cemetery.
Yeah. Well,
My favorite part of the Washington, D.C. trip this year was being able to stand.
I can always forward this to you. What we did was we took all of the students who traveled this year, and we asked them to share briefly their most memorable part of the trip, their most inspirational, their takeaway from the trip. So I'll just let this roll a little bit while I'm talking. I did a little bit of research. When I was a student over 20 years ago, I went on the Washington, D.C. trip as an 8th grader and was very much inspired. And so I never would have dreamt that this many years later I would be the one leading the trip, but I'm happy to do so. It's been a great experience. I also did some research and talked with some of the veteran teachers who led the trip. It's my understanding that this trip was over 30 years old. It was on hiatus for a few years, and then I took it over, and we just recently, right around spring break, completed the third trip since I took the trip over. We generally travel around spring break time frame. The first 2 years we went that very first weekend of spring break. Next year we're anticipating going the week before spring break. I, in particular, chose that photo. I don't know if you can make it out with the cherry blossoms in full bloom, because generally when we go, depending on the weather, we get to see that, which is a nice touch on the trip. We have a very full itinerary. There are some of the highlights of the places that we visit. We spend 3 full days, 2 nights, staying in Washington. We fly there right out of Chicago here, and we travel by coach bus to and around Washington, D.C. And we walk them, we pretty much run them ragged. We walk about 8 to 10 miles per day. So it's a very full itinerary, to say the least. So the Washington, D.C. trip at Westmont Junior High is available to 8th grade students. The last 3 years, we've averaged between 30 and 50% of the 8th grade student body. So I thought that those were pretty good numbers, and I hope to keep that. I usually try to cap it at about 50 or so students. Reason being, that's pretty much the largest coach bus that we can get in Washington. And because of our unique small school feel, anything larger, we'd have to split up into 2 separate buses, and then it almost feels like 2 different trips. And I would hate to have to tell a student that they couldn't be on the same bus as a friend and whatnot. So we usually try to cap it at about between 50 and 60 students, depending on availability of coach buses at that particular time. We strive to have a balance of fun as well as experiential learning while we're in Washington, D.C. I'd like to, she was able to join me this evening, introduce Miss Colleen Walsh, sitting in the back. She's an 8th grade literacy teacher. She's been my right-hand partner in planning this trip. It is a year-round job in terms of planning all the logistics and everything. And this trip wouldn't be what it is without her, so I wanted to publicly acknowledge her and thank her. I'd also like to take this opportunity. This year we had, it's kind of neat, I know they're not here this evening, but I'd like to acknowledge Mrs. Donovan, Mrs. Fredericks, Mrs. Wright, and Mrs. Schlacks. I don't know if you're familiar with Georgetown Cupcake. It's been featured on one of the food, not the Food Network, but one of the many food channels that are out there. They purchased cupcakes from, and also known as DC Cupcakes, and had them delivered to our hotel. So that was a nice little treat for us when we came back after our first night of touring, and they paid for it out of their own pocket. So that was very, very kind of them. The Chaperones, I take teachers from the school. I try to keep the ratio at approximately one adult for every 15 students. We also, through the tour company, it's a picture of Colleen and myself and our tour guide, Scott, there in the middle. He's a professional tour guide. He's from New York and pretty much does this for a living. So not only are we chaperones, tour guides, but really we're facilitators for all the experiential learning that's going on while we're in our nation's capital. So we have an introduction and a debriefing session for pretty much everything that we do. We think that that's very important for them to have some element of guided tours, but also some self-exploration. But at every point along the way, there's always a Q&A session, and we as the adults are learning right alongside them the entire time. We want them to kind of take things away in their own way. And the goal for us is to bring history alive for our students while we're there, but also for our followers. And so I have the little Twitter icon there because 2 years ago we created a Twitter account unique just to our Washington, D.C. trip. And it's a private account, and I accept only students and or parents or family members of CUSD 201 families. And we piloted it last year, and we did a couple different things this year, and the feedback that we got was tremendous because we're live tweeting our trip as we're doing it, and so it's a nice thing for parents and family members and even their peers that are a little bit younger to see what they're doing exactly when they're doing it. One of the other unique things that I did have a couple video clips that I wanted to share with you that I wish you could see, but I will tell you about it instead. One of the things that we started 2 years ago was a quote activity. And so what we mean by making history, and the reason why I have President Lincoln's memorial up there, is we roll it out at the very beginning of the trip, and we have very specific rules that we want them to do. We want them to look and listen for things that is inspired whole or in part by things that they witness, experience, and or observe while they're in Washington, D.C. Their quote must be interesting, timeless, or universally applicable to all people, and meaningful. Lastly, students must share in front of their peers atop the Lincoln Memorial. So it started last year as kind of just for fun. We wanted to see how it would work. It went really well last year, and we tried it again this year, and it went equally as well. And there's nothing more inspirational than having a group of teenagers having fun, but also having some emotional moments where so many emotional historical events have taken place atop the Lincoln Memorial. And unfortunately, I can't share with you because we pulled a few that we thought were especially inspirational. So that's a sort of a formal tradition that we started a couple years ago that we're proud of. It's a team-building, educational, emotional, and overall remarkable moment for everyone that's involved, including us as the adults. So I just want to thank you for the time to share what we do on our trip. We often hear things like, you take how many teenagers to Washington, D.C.? When strangers and even some parents say, oh, bless you for doing this. And we, as the chaperones, and Colleen can attest to this, will usually smile and nod our head, but hopefully, through some of the things that I spoke about and some of the things that I wanted to share, you kind of see that it's worth it for many, many reasons as educators for us to do. It certainly is our pleasure. We get to know and connect with students at a very different level outside of our traditional classroom setting. And the feeling that you get when you witness a student having an emotional moment or a connection at a memorial, teaching and learning alongside them, or helping a student take an etching off the Vietnam Wall for a family member, or locating a gravesite at Arlington National Cemetery. Or this year, we were fortunate to bear witness to a once-a-year memorial service to Medal of Honor winners, of which 20 or so living members were present. Or just laughing at all the lifelong memories we shared together is almost difficult to put into words. The number of light bulb or discovery moments we experience on our trip, the amount of information, as well as the questions and answers students provide to us and each other is one of a few things that make this trip very special for us. The amount of generous words from parents, letters from students, and the countless thank yous also make it special. While we don't always have the time to list these things in detail when asked, why do we do this trip, and we do it with how many teenagers? These are the things we're thinking when we smile and nod back at the individual who is questioning our sanity. In closing, I would very much like to thank Ms. Quattrone, Mr. Jonak, Mr. Carey, and the Board of Education for allowing this opportunity, as well as your continued support with our efforts on this annual trip. And again, thank you to the Board of Education for allowing me to share with you this evening. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Jason, I just want to take a minute and, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for stepping up and bringing this trip back. A number of years ago, I advocated very strongly to have this come back to our district, and I very much appreciate that you have done that, and the teachers that go with you and the parents. It is truly an emotional trip, and I look forward to seeing the full presentation that you did. But I just have to say thank you very much for doing that.
Absolutely. I would love to maybe I can forward on those clips to Mr. Carey. It really, I promise, is only about 3 minutes, because we pared it down to be as short and sweet as possible, and we're kind of proud of it. So maybe I can forward that to Mr. Carey. It's about 3.5 minutes.
I would love to see it.
Thank you, and I would love for you all to see it and hear it, because it truly is a great experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just wondering, can we get that on the website so future families can potentially see it?
If you're okay with it, Jason, we can.
Absolutely, sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Jason, I too would like to thank you. My son was on the first trip you did 3 years ago.
Yes.
I got to go on the Washington, D.C. trip when I was in 8th grade, and it was an amazing experience, both educationally and socially. I thought it was just absolutely wonderful. It was a packed 3 days, but I'll never forget it. And I know he got to have the same kind of experience, and I'm grateful that he got to do it, and that a couple of years of kids worth afterwards have gotten to do so, and I hope this continues for a long time. So thank you.
Thank you. And really, it truly is our pleasure. I mean, it is a lot of work, but it really is a pleasure. These times that we share with your children are really fun. So, again, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, are there any other public comments? Move along, and then for the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. So for our new board members, consent agenda, if you had a chance to look those over, if anybody ever has a question about something, you can pull it out, we can talk about it, and then we can go back and vote on it. So at this time, I will ask if any questions about the items in the consent agenda? No? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, personnel recommendations. Number 2, appointment of school treasurer. Number 3, approval of student tour. 4, approval of maintenance grant program. 5, abatement of working cash funds. 6, approval of April 2013 expenditure report. And 7, ratification of March 2013 regular payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon.
Mr. Johnson? Mrs. Napush?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the dual language program.
Just briefly, Kelly Boss presented to the board at our last board meeting regarding the dual language program, and the request from the board was to do a similar breakdown of cost estimates, similar to what we did with the kindergarten program, and so that was provided for you in the board book. And basically a lot, the all-day kindergarten program, those costs also would address the needs of the dual language. So I didn't include anything that was already accounted for. So in addition to what was discussed with the all-day kindergarten, there would be an additional $3,000 in supplies and materials. Staff development, Kelly had mentioned that $1,700 for training through the IRC, and we've already, we're hoping, obviously, that this passes, but we reserved a spot for a teacher. And then there would be some cost with regards to transportation, $19,000 approximately. And so overall, the estimate for the dual language program would be $23,700. That's in addition to just the all-day kindergarten program in general.
And the only recurring cost really would be the transportation cost, right?
Right.
And again, the reason for the additional transportation is that any student who signs up will go to Miller Elementary for this program. Is that correct?
Correct. It's a magnet program for the district, so
Right.
regardless of where you live in the district, you would be eligible to attend the program.
Thank you for providing the breakdown this way. I think it's a lot easier to follow and sort of see what's going on. And also, I was almost relieved, really is probably the right word, to see that this is such a financially accessible thing, considering so many of the things we want to do, we come to the board and the numbers are, more digits long. I was, thrilled and relieved to see that this is pretty accessible.
And I know that people are interested in us doing this, so thank you for that. Okay, so are there any other questions on that? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the dual language program as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Napush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
So can I just ask how this works now? How does that, we had kindergarten registration, just so that our...
So we've got a database of incoming kindergarten families, and so Kelly will be organizing a couple meetings yet this spring, one in English, one in Spanish, to inform kindergarten parents about the program and how they enroll or get their name on a list. And then once we get through registration, again, Kelly has offered to have another set of meetings because typically we get a few more families. And then shortly after that, then we'll be able to finalize those students who will be enrolled in the program.
And at registration, where there'll be some kind of handout or something, so.
As a matter of fact, I think, and Kelly, if I'm putting words in your mouth, I think like the PowerPoint, we'd be able to have that scrolling, as part of it. So parents would be able to see that, but yes, there would be handouts available as well.
I think over communication is better. We've had some stumbles in the not too recent past, and I think the more times we can say it and put it out there and different ways of delivering it, the sooner the better, kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Just want to make sure that we don't make some of those missteps that we've made recently. So.
Yeah, that registration is daunting anyway.
It is. Yeah, that's true.
Talk
And
about
long.
something new. Thank you, Mrs. Bass, for doing that and bringing that to the district. So, Okay, then the next item on the agenda is the school fee waiver process and fee reduction schedule. Mrs. Anderson, did you want to?
Yes, the Finance Committee met and we discussed our fee waiver protocols. And currently, the only information we require for fee waivers is for people to fill out the free and reduced lunch application and then say they want a fee waiver. And we base the fee waiver off of the income that they present on the free and reduced lunch applications. One of the things that we were looking at is we're only allowed to verify 3% of the income for the National School Lunch Program. And we feel that it's in the district's best interest to verify 100% of the income for fee waivers. So that's what we're proposing tonight, and that we are going to use the same guidelines that we use for the National School Lunch Program. So students or families that are at 130% or lower of federal poverty rate would qualify for a fee waiver, and their school registration fees would be waived 100%. And then families that fall within 131 to 185% of the federal guidelines would receive a 50% reduction in their registration fees. And then it's also important to know that families still qualify if they have 3 or more students for the $50 per child discount as well. And then if there are families who don't meet those federal guidelines, but they've encountered a hardship, then they can apply as well and state the reasons, and we'll consider that hardship for them. The other thing too, we do have payment plans available. So if families, find that that would be a better way for them to be able to pay their registration fees, we do set up payment plans for families as well. And then I just want to make sure everyone understands that we do not waive, though, the fees for athletics, band, drama, or other extracurricular activities. And so we're proposing that this is the process that the district follows for next year. And then we'll obviously send out a lot of communication about this as well, with registration packets posted on the website and things like that, because we know this will be a big change for people. Does anybody have any questions?
No, this is good, and thank you for giving us the information that, we're not the only district doing this, that many districts are moving in this direction.
And everybody does it differently, and so this is the recommendation that the committee came up with, and we are finding that more, and a lot of districts have always verified income separately for the fee waivers, and then several who haven't in the last few years are really working toward this because it's becoming an issue in the schools.
Is there an opportunity for people to do their income verification in advance of actually showing up at registration?
Yes, and we're gonna send that information out. So yeah, we can get that ahead of time. Yes, we would like that. Okay. That would make things easier for everybody.
Okay. And while we're on that topic, I think I got an email today that we have the dates for registration.
We do.
I hate to throw this, July 24th, I think, was the first one. And I'm really sorry that I just broke all the rules by asking you something that I think July 24th was the first one.
Yes, at 1 p.m.
August 6th.
1 to 7?
And then
or 1
August 6th? Okay, and August 6th.
Yeah.
And August 6th is like 2 to 6, right? It's 1 to 7 and then 2 to 6.
And are they going to be, is it at?
Junior high.
The junior high?
They'll be at the junior high.
Junior high, okay. All right, I'm sorry for that, but I just thought as long as we're talking about that. Okay. Well, and thank you, because I think this is, this will certainly make sure that those that need the fee waivers get them, so.
I think it's important too to say, and just to say, and say it probably many ways and many times, that this has no impact on lunches.
Correct.
At all. This is only fee waivers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're two separate processes.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
That's a good point, okay. Okay, any other comments? All right, then the chair will entertain a motion to approve the school fee waiver process and fee reduction schedule as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Knappus?
Yes.
Okay, then the next item is the presentation of monthly financial statements.
Okay, we have the routine financial statements for you, the fund balance summary, statement of position, the investments, the activity accounts, and the lunch report. And again, you know, things are pretty much status quo. The state continues to owe the district money for almost $442,000 overall. $338,000 of that is in the education fund, and $104,000 is in the transportation fund, although we did receive a few payments today, so that will be good news in April. And again, revenues in the education fund are just slightly below where they were at this time last year, but we anticipate them to come in as scheduled. And then expenditures, again, in all funds are a little bit lower than they have been in the past. So we will probably come in a little bit under budget this year. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. It's nice to hear that we might come in under budget again. Very nice. Okay, the next item on the agenda is superintendent's report.
First, the Joint Committees update, our most recent meeting. We had the Climate Committee again was reviewing the video bullying, is that the name of it?
Yeah, and we also were discussing character education programs, and a lot of the discussion centered around Rachel's Challenge, that program, and wondering the positives about bringing that into the district and how that would be implemented if we went that kind of a route for kind of a more global character education and not just an anti-bullying type of initiative.
And then the Finance Committee, they did their work on the approval of fee structure that the board approved this evening. And then facilities, we actually took a tour of the pool, and because that has been a constant conversation with the committee, you know, because Mike Maros does a great job maintaining our facilities, but we're kind of getting to a point where we're either going to have to make a significant investment into the pool or decide that possibly we're not going to have a pool, or create a partnership with another entity to maintain the pool. And then they also looked at those mid-range recommendations, and then how do we cover the cost of those. And so our next meeting is May 22nd, and what we're going to do there is each of the subcommittees is going to report out to a larger group, and then I would anticipate at our May 28th board meeting, then there will be an official report coming to the board regarding facilities and what the recommendation is coming out of that committee, because they're ready to make the recommendation. So if you can make the May 22nd meeting, you'd get a preview of that, and then on the 28th would be the formal presentation to the board. The other thing that we're going to do also, if the board remembers when we went down the path of PLCs, professional learning communities, we told our parents that we would have a meeting in May to kind of review what we've been able to accomplish this year as a result of PLCs. And so I thought we met with our district leadership team last week, which is again a blend of our teachers and our administrators, and they thought it might be nice to dovetail that PLC meeting with the Joint Review Committee meeting, because we would definitely get a larger group then to see the work of the Joint Committee. So on May 22nd, we're going to have an update for our parents for PLCs, and then also have immediately following our Joint Review Committee meeting. We'd start at 6:30, so that'll happen then. And then this is not part of my report, but since we had the conversation about registration, I can share with you Nancy Battaglia was very appreciative of the efforts of board members who volunteered. And for our new board members, we asked for our families to do some pre-registration activities prior to those dates. But for some of our families who are new to the district, or if they don't have the means to access the technology, those families come in and we're able to work with those families. And it was some of our board members who work with those families. And so she's hoping that she can count on some of our board members to be available those 2 dates to, again, provide that same service, which I think, not speaking for board members, but it's an opportunity to meet some of our families that we serve as well. So
That was a good sales pitch. I'm sure Nancy would be very pleased at that little pitch you just. Yeah.
It really was, too, because it was nice to meet, you know, I particularly met a family that had a child going into three of our schools. So it was very nice. So.
It seemed like having an interpreter last year was a very effective addition to that process. Okay.
We will have that available as well.
Okay, did you have anything else? Okay, then the next item on the agenda, board reports.
I have just a couple of acknowledgements. It was very busy last week. In addition to the half the town flooding, we also had an unusual number of school activities. So I know at Miller we had the science fair Monday night, which was a wonderful success, and I thought the quality of the projects that the kids were turning in seems to be getting a little bit better each year. And the first time we did it, we had a lot of, you know, first time efforts, and it's been really gratifying to see the kids, you know, from third grade, which is, you know, really pretty young in the whole scheme of things, coming in with these really impressive boards and science projects. And I know there's a lot of parents that put a lot of effort in, and there's teachers and administration at the building that put a lot of effort in, and it was really a nice event, which was also Earth Day, so that was kind of a nice, you know, tie together with the science project. And I know we had some judges from other places in the district too. We had a student, I think, a senior from the high school. We had a teacher from the high school or the junior high. Oh, that's right, Mr. Jonak, yeah. So, I mean, it was just really nice to have some other people coming in and seeing as well. The night immediately following that, Miller had its spring concert, which was also the committee meeting night, yes. So some of us missed those committee meetings. But I know that Mr. Harold puts a tremendous amount of work in, and we all in the Miller building managed to squeeze into the gym. It was standing room only by quite a bit, but the kids did a wonderful job, and it was really a very fun event. And then, of course, many of us at this table experienced the 5th grade band concert on Thursday night of the same week, which, again, was just a tremendous effort by the music staff as well as the kids. And it had been rescheduled, and it was kind of confusing, and everybody really came together. And I think most of us at this table have kids in that. So it was just an amazing experience to see how far those kids have come in such a short period of time. And then the Saturday preceding all of those activities was the Dueling Pianos fundraiser that the junior high PTO put on, where Mr. Harold and Mr. Vaughn volunteered their time to help raise funds for the junior high. And it was by far the most fun, unique, you know, PTO fundraiser I think I've ever participated in. I mean, it was just completely different, and I didn't have to buy any cookie dough or any wrapping paper, and that was really cool. So just a huge congratulations to the junior high PTO for, you know, really out of the box and really, you know, coming through with a very unique, you know, activity and option for families in the district to enjoy. And I think that they were successful as well, which is obviously a huge bonus, but just a lot going on.
I would like to piggyback on that too, because again, it was a phenomenal evening of fun and entertainment, and whenever you can hear Mr. Jonak sing is a fabulous evening, and he's not here anymore, so maybe he won't know I just said that. But I asked the ladies who put this together, and I have to say the profit was $5,000, which is phenomenal for, you know, putting something together. I mean, I know as a person who attended it, it was phenomenal, but to raise that kind of money for a junior high is fantastic. And as a board member, I will say thank you very much to the PTO for doing that, because it just helps with the things that's needed at the junior high. So yes, I will reiterate everything that Shannon said. It was a lot of fun. So, anyone else have anything else coming up? Okay, well, 2 things then. There is, now that we've talked about that for the junior high, there is a Chipotle night coming up again on Tuesday, May 7th, next Tuesday. And again, it's another fantastic fundraiser, because the junior high gets 50% of the proceeds. So that's a great fundraiser. I know they made quite a bit of money on that last year, too.
And go early because the lines are.
The lines get very long. And I have some information, we're still figuring this out, but I think there might be a teacher appreciation that day for buy one, get one free for any teacher with a school ID. So we'll check on that. And then tomorrow night is the Manning concert, the Manning Spring Concert, and that will be held at the high school, 7 o'clock, 6:30? 7 o'clock. That's coming up.
I guess there's other things since our last meeting too. Dodgeball took place. Did Twilight Stars take place?
Twilight
We had a
Stars.
conflict that night, so we didn't make it.
Twilight
but-
Stars took place
Right,
last
so there's been,
Friday.
I mean, just, if you look at the last couple of weeks, it's been a literally overwhelming amount of activities that have been going on in the schools, and they've all been just wonderfully attended and amazing experiences.
Two other things. Last week was also the NHS induction. That was fantastic. And our high school band is heading to Super State, so we wish them luck in that endeavor. So, all right. Then, are there any other public comments? Okay. First, I would like to just take a moment and thank and welcome to the board Mara Notbush and Matt Johnson. We look forward to working with you, and we're here to help you. And if there's anything we can do to help you get up to speed and participate, please let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing probable litigation and collective bargaining.
So moved.
Just one sec. I want to add personnel to that. I just have a question.
Okay, for the purpose of discussing probable litigation, collective bargaining, and personnel.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
And there will be a vote after closed session.
You can keep that material, but the orange.
We are back in session from closed session, and we have one action item. The approval of the WESPA contract. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the agreement between the Westmont Education Support Personnel Association and the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 201 for the period beginning July 1st, 2012, and ending June 30th, 2015, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.